Welcome back to Trucking and Politics, folks. So, the last video I did, I mentioned something about this video. I talked to one of the commenters. I actually had a discussion last night with a guy that is interested in coming on, doing a interview, a guest segment, something like that. Think it's a good idea for the channel myself to get another person's perspective. I was talking to him about this subject, and he said he thought it would be a good subject to talk about as well. How to find a good company job, how to find a better company job. I'm talking specifically about company driving here, but a lot of these points that I'm bringing up works for owner operators too. They even work for independents. You know, if you have your own business, you have your own truck. Um, what I want to bring up is right now in the U.S., we're going through an economic decline. Okay. It might just be a situation right now. You have to hang on to what you've got. It may not be the best time. This is August 2024. We're in a pivotal election. Biden has destroyed our economy, like it or not. I'm not trying to be politically one side or the other. It's just the facts of the matter. It was going good under Trump. Almost immediately when Biden come in, it fell off a cliff and has been falling ever since. And you know, we have good presidents, we have bad, we have economic upturns and downturns. It's the world we live in. It's the country specifically we live in. Things are changing. Anytime things change, people don't like change. So therefore you're going to have a pushback on it. And that's what we're going through right now. It's not anything unlike Jimmy Carter. Look back at his presidency. It was awful. It was horrible. We were in economic dire straits under Carter. Like it or not, you might think Carter was the best president we ever had. I mean, that's your opinion, but looking at the economics of that, it wasn't good. It started getting better under Reagan. In the beginning, it wasn't good under Reagan, but it started getting better. Under Clinton, it was really good. You know, I I'm not specifically Republican. I'm not specifically Democrat. I'm just honest and real. I don't really care for Bill Clinton. You know, I don't care for the way he ran his presidency, but the economic numbers, it was better. It was better under him. Like it or lump it. So that's what we're going through right now. And, it's a situation where you just might have to do the best you can with what you've got. Do I want to be in this company? No. No, I don't. Would I have quit being an owner operator just to work for this company? No, I wouldn't have. Wouldn't have. I was an owner operator from 2007 until 2023 because of economic reasons, personal reasons, a lot of different reasons. I had to park my owner operator truck. A lot of my friends said, well, just jump back into it. Well, now's not the time. I need tires on my truck. I need brakes on my truck. I need some engine repair on my truck. General maintenance on the truck is going to cost a lot of money. And I don't really see the the upside of it, right now to throw all that money into it. just to get out and struggle, with $1.20, $1.50 a mile loads. It's just not the right time. So I chose to go into company driving. A lot of you may disagree with that, and that's fine. It was a personal choice. This is actually the third company driving job I have had that I've had since I parked my owner operator truck. The first two sucked. It got to the point where I just didn't want to work for them at all. So, what makes a good company driving job versus a bad one? How do you tell what's good? How do you tell that's bad? Owner operator jobs are the same way. When I first became an owner operator in '07, I thought, and you can laugh at this is okay. I'll laugh at myself on it. I thought that I could do whatever I wanted to do. I bought a truck. I could go wherever I wanted. I could park the truck. I could run a run if I wanted to. I would have so much money. There wouldn't be any stress. There wouldn't be any worries. You know, I I was very self-centered, very self-absorbent. I had the big head because I had my own truck. I was better than everybody else, right? It's what I thought. And then reality hit after I started running for a company, and I realized all I was a glorified company driver. I got a lot of scrap loads that they didn't want to throw at their company drivers. I I went to places that I wouldn't have normally went to as a company driver. I got chewed out because I wanted to take my truck to the shop to get some stuff repaired on it. It was actually really bad being an owner operator. It was bad, and it was because of the companies I chose to work with. That's what made it bad. So that's what I'm trying to get at with this video. This video is actually really hard to do, by the way, because you could just say, well, go to work for a company. They're all the same. No, they're not. I could, it's something this subscriber and I was talking about last night when we had our phone conversation. We, uh, we had a little disagreement, I guess, about mega carriers. I want to clarify something. I don't hate mega carriers just because they're. Sorry, I had to pause the video there. There was a guy wanting to ask a question. Um, I don't dislike mega carriers because they're mega carriers. To prove my point, the first company I ever worked for in trucking, MS Carriers, they had 5,500 trucks on the road. In my book, that would be a mega carrier, right? And I liked working for them. The reason I liked working for them probably was because of the time that I got in. It was 2000. Also, with the company, you know, it they gave you options. With MS Carriers, you could be an over the road driver, stay out 3 to 5 weeks, whatever it was. I don't remember now, but seemed like it was something like that. You could do that. You could run regional. You could do local. You could do what I did was I was on a dedicated account. I picked up from a furniture factory and delivered furniture to retail stores or wholesalers. Big Lots was one of our big customers. We took a lot of furniture into Big Lots. And it was a good job. It was a good paying job. I liked it. Now, would you have liked it? I don't know. I did. You know, I liked the places we went to, the places we delivered to. So just because it's a mega carrier, that's not what I don't like about it. What I personally don't like now about mega carriers, and it's been building for the last 30 years, mega carriers work off of volume freight, generally speaking. They want to go with big accounts, big, huge corporations, Kraft, Dr. Pepper, all of the soda companies, or if you're Northern Pop companies. My wife and I were laughing about that today, or this weekend rather, how we call it sodas or Cokes, and Northern people call it pop. But they go after those big, huge accounts like that, right? So that's what you're going to be dealing with a lot with mega carriers is huge volumes of freight. That's what they want. They want the big mega accounts. And that's not the only thing I don't like about mega carriers is they go after the mega accounts. It's the way they treat their drivers. And I want to add in something here. Companies in general, no matter if it's a one truck company or if it's a 15 million truck company, the largest company you could ever imagine. I'm going to say something here that's going to make a lot of company owners mad, but it's really the truth if you'll let me explain. If these companies could fire every single driver and put in a microchip to where the truck self drives itself, a robot in the seat, a computer program, whatever it takes to make that truck self driving, right? They'd do it in a heartbeat. They would get rid of every company driver there is, they would get rid of every owner operator there is, they would end humans in trucks. And you say, why? Why would they do that? What is the number one goal of any trucking company? To make money. Specifically, they want that truck loaded. As soon as it gets empty, they want it reloaded. If the wheels are not turning, if the load is not generating money for that truck is useless to them. It could be the oldest truck in the fleet or the newest truck in the fleet. That doesn't matter. That truck has to generate money for that company or it's useless. The same goes for the driver. The same thing goes for the driver. That's why they want so bad to have self-driving trucks. That's the real thing. It's not about safety. It's not. It's about generating revenue. Here's why. You as a human have emotions. A robot does not. You want to go to birthday parties. You want to get married. You have a toothache. You get sick with the flu. Trucking companies don't want to hear that stuff. They may say, "Oh, that's great. You're getting married. Let's have a little party and throw something for you." Honestly, they really don't care. And honestly, they really don't want it. Because the thing they're going to think about is, well, his truck's going to be down. We're not going to be making revenue because he's got personal stuff that he's got to take care of. With a robot, some type of automated truck, they don't get married. Their mom and dads don't die and they don't have to go to a funeral. They take the human equation out of it and it's just go, go, go. And another thing, a robot doesn't get tired. If it needs a new battery pack, they pull it over, put a new battery pack in it, keep going. They can run the truck 24 hours a day it doesn't get tired, it doesn't get exhausted, it doesn't get upset with traffic. There's no emotion. It's exactly what they want. So, I want to explain all this stuff before I get into what makes a good company and what makes a bad one, because all of this stuff is very relevant. It is very, very relevant. Like I said, we're going through an economic decline. It's going to be a thing where probably you just have to hang on till times get better. But times will get better. So how do you find that better job when times do get better? How do you do that? Well, it first starts with you. I don't mean to be the person that's on career day at high school and be the pep rally person. It all starts with you, but it's very, very true. It all starts with you. If you are the type of person that you hate trucking, you absolutely despise it. You got into it because of money and a need, and that's it. And you don't like truck drivers, you don't like trucks, you don't like anything about it. None of this stuff that I'm going to say is going to help you whatsoever, because you've already made up your mind you hate it. So how do you make it better? You get out of it. It's just a plain simple fact. I'm not trying to make you mad. It's just the plain simple fact of the matter. If you really hate something, you need to get out of it. It doesn't matter what it is. Okay? That's just the plain simple thing. Now, if you really like truck driving, but you don't like the company you're with, or you really like trucking but you haven't got into it and you don't know where to go and where to start, okay, this is something I don't like about mega carriers too, because they have partnered up with insurance companies, they partnered up with politicians, they partnered up with, the Wall Street movers and shakers, investors, and all this, and they have predetermined the rules that, generally speaking, starting out, you're going to have an accident. Your odds are higher, right? Especially a major accident. A lot of these mega carriers are self-insured up to $500,000 or $1 million. That means they don't even call the insurance company whenever something major happens. They put their attorneys on it, they put their negotiators on it. Generally speaking, if it's $500,000 or $1 million, whatever their self-insured thing is, they will take care of it themselves. A lot of smaller companies can't. They don't have that ability. They don't have $500,000 or $1 million in the bank, so therefore they have to abide by insurance policy rules. That's why they have partnered up with these people. The mega carriers have partnered up with these people that says if you want to start out in trucking, you have to be trained and you have to go to work for the mega carrier. Something this subscriber said last night, commenter, something he said last night, people need to be aware your first 2 years of trucking will suck. Generally speaking, it's a stereotype, but generally speaking, your first 2 years of truck driving will suck. You will be at the mercy of who will hire you and what they will allow you to do. I hate to say that, but I totally agree with him. It sucks. It's almost 3 years in my book. It's not just 2. It's almost the fact for 3 years of it. is going to suck. You're going to have to learn how trucking works. You're going to have to learn how companies work. You're going to have to learn how the industry works. And you're going to have to apply yourself. If you make mistakes, if you have wrecks, if you get tickets, if you have marks on your PSP, your personal score, your PSP, it's going to make it harder on you. That's why I say it all starts with you. It all starts with your choices. If you want to get out here and run like an idiot and cause wrecks and cause problems, you're only going to make it worse on yourself. Then your options of getting better and doing better is going to be less. Right? It's already hard enough. Don't make it harder on yourself than it has to be. So, what I would say to do is make a pros and cons list, especially once you get into trucking and you find out you do like it, but you don't like the company you work for. Write a pros and cons list. Keep a mental note of it. If you have problems when you're calling companies, write it down. Get on your computer and do a spreadsheet. Whatever works for you. There's an app on my phone that's called Keep Notes. It's a perfect thing. Write your pros, write your cons, do another segment of asking questions for trucking companies. Okay? If you don't like working third shift and you know that you don't like working third shift, I'll give you an example for me. It's nothing negative about this company. That's why I'll name them. It's nothing negative. It's a company close to my house, Stallion Transportation out of Searcy, Arkansas. I asked them on the phone some questions about pros and cons that I had learned over the years. And I went down one day to apply for a job. I was liking what I heard enough that I was going to apply for the job. I walked in, there was a very nice lady sitting there, and I asked her, "Do you make your drivers work third shift?" And she looked at me and said, "Excuse me?" And I said, "Do you have a lot of third shift runs? Do you make your drivers run third shift?" And she had this lost look on her face and said, "I don't know. No one's ever asked that question before." And I said, "Well, that's very important to me. I have found out over the years, I have a very bad problem. I can't stay awake on third shift. From about 11 to midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, somewhere around there, till about 6, 7 in the morning, I can't stay awake. Even if I've slept all day, I can't stay awake. So I don't want to put myself in that position. If you have a lot of third shift runs, this is not going to be a good job for me." And she said, "Well, let me ask someone. Let me pull someone else in that knows more about it." This guy walked in. I don't know who he was. If he was the owner or dispatcher, I have no idea who he was. He said, "I heard you had a question. What was your question? What do you need to know?" I brought it up to him, and he said, "Here is the thing. If we have a run that runs on third shift, I don't think it happens often, but if you are there and you're in that position and it has to go, we have to answer to our customers. If you're empty and you're ready to go and your hours say that you can do it, you have to do the load. You just have to." And I said, "Could we make arrangements to where I could change the appointment or something to where it could be a couple hours later maybe or something?" No. We have to do what the customer tells us to do. And I said, "Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate your time." and I don't want to risk it. And he said, okay, that's cool. And I said, I don't want to apply right now. I don't want to risk it. Now, am I saying Stallion is a horrible company? No. I'm just saying my experience with it. I decided that it wasn't a good fit for me. It might be a perfect fit for you. See, that's why I'm saying it all starts with you. It all starts with what you are willing to do and what you're not willing to do. Something else, this guy, his name's Anthony, and I'm sure he will be on the channel with me. We'll do an interview or a guest segment. Something we brought up last night while we were talking about this is making you do stuff that you don't want to do. Even though, you know, standing up for yourself. Even though there's supposed to be rules in place now where you're not forced to do something you don't want to do, like driving in bad weather, driving in a snowstorm. It should be a situation where if you feel like your life is in danger or you feel like you're in a dangerous situation for others, you should be able to make your choice and pull over. Same thing with doing loads. Like this load I'm on now, it had an 8 o'clock appointment. It's noon. I'm just now getting in the door. They haven't even started unloading me. It was messed up the last time I was here. Right? So I could start adding stuff up like that. I drive a white truck. Like I said in my last segment, I really, really don't like a white truck. And I could add this to the cons list. Well, I don't like coming here. I don't like setting like this. I'm not making any money. They'll probably pay me detention, but it won't be much. Right? You start adding stuff up like that, do a pros and cons list. You start adding stuff up. You need to keep a mental note of that kind of stuff. A lot of this stuff you don't know until you go to work for a company. Ask 1,000 questions. Don't talk to just one person. That's the mistake I made with the last company I worked for. I just talked to one person that was there. I did my research. I looked at their website. I looked at their Google reviews, read every one of the Google reviews. They actually have a YouTube channel where they promote their trucking company. They have truck drivers on there giving testimonies for this company. Oh, it's the greatest company there ever was. I can tell you stuff that they said on there that's not true. We allow riders. It said right on the side of the door of the truck on the passenger side, no riders. And they validated it by, well, that was an old rule. We used to allow riders, but now we don't. And I said, well, update your stuff. Because you're now changing it to where you're giving out false information. Well, I guess you could look at it that way. You know, it's stuff like that. Sometimes you just don't know till you get in there. Another thing about that company, they said it was 70 to 80% dropping hooks on the phone. During orientation, I found out it was 20 to 30% dropping hooks. And they were losing customers, and they were losing freight with the customers that they had, and they were having problems getting new customers. They were in an economic downturn, and the owner of the company told me that he had just lost $1 million trying to prop the company up. They didn't tell me any of this stuff. I didn't know to ask any of this stuff. You know, I asked them about average miles. They told me the company average on miles. They had guys that worked there for 12 to 14 years in this company. I accused them of giving preferential treatment to these guys to keep them on there. They said, no, that's not true. Everybody is the same. Doesn't matter if you're here 1 week or 14 years. You will all get the same average on the miles. That's not true. That is not true with that company. And see, there's stuff like that, even though you ask 10,000 questions, if you only talk to one person and get one person's side of it, go to a truck stop. If you're looking for a company to work for, go to a truck stop and don't just ask one truck driver. That one truck driver that works for that company, his dad might have died 30 minutes before you went and talked to him. He's not going to be worried about talking to you about that trucking company. He's got his dad fresh on his mind. His wife might have just called and said she's running off with the neighbor and they're going to be in vacation in the Bahamas for 6 months. And when she gets back, she's going to file for divorce. You think he's going to tell you everything good about that company? You need to ask different people. Take your time. Like what we're doing right now in this economic downturn, I'm keeping what I've got. This company, for the most part, works out. Is it the best thing since sliced bread? No. It works out. The way I look at it, it's better to have a steady paycheck coming in. That way I can pay the house payment. It sucks having $10 in your account trying to figure out how to make your house payment. And knowing that you're not going to have a paycheck next week either. That sucks. So sometimes you just have to suck it up and deal with what you got. As far as finding better companies out here, I think this pros and cons list will help you more than anything. I really do. I think jumping from one mega carrier to another is all you're going to do is change colors of trucks and change the name on the door. That's my honest opinion about it. I mean, that's my honest opinion, because all mega carriers work the same. They really do. There is a night and day difference between this company I'm working for now and the last company I worked for. One thing was that last company was based out of Memphis. It's a different culture. It's a different type of atmosphere over there. This company is in a rural town in Missouri. It's very small. It's very family oriented. It's very laid back. You know, I can go in right now and come up to the safety guy and say, hey man, I need to talk to you. Okay, well, let's go talk. And he can just sit down and talk to me like a normal human being. He's not stressed out. Now, he might be having to do something right there at that moment and say, can we schedule it some other time? He was in the truck with me last week. My ELD was down and he was trying to get it booted back up. He looked at me just as plain faced and said, trucking sucks. It really does. It sucks. And I said, it's not really that bad. And he said, oh no, it sucks. It's horrible. But we try to make it as good as we can. We try to take it easy on you guys and women. Try to make it as easy as we can. Some companies out here don't. They don't want to make it easy on you. They don't. I worked for one out of Little Rock one time. That company was stressed every time you got on the phone with them. They were hurrying up, trying to get off of the phone. They didn't want to talk to you. They didn't have time for you. And guess what? It was the same way whenever I went to work for them. It worked out exactly the same way. I'd call Linda, what do you need? I've got to go. We're busy. We don't have time to sit around and talk. What do you need? I just finally got tired of their attitudes. You know, That was a company I was an owner operator for. And, you know, standing up, like I said earlier, standing up for yourself will change things too. Anthony brought that up. The guy that I'm talking about here that's going to be on the channel, he brought that up. Standing up for yourself. That company there, that same company that I was owner operator for at Little Rock, I was sitting at a dock getting unloaded, and I heard this pop, this real loud pop sound. And I thought, I was looking around, my truck was running, and I thought, I wonder what that was. I looked around, it was a little dark. I got out with my flashlight, started looking around, couldn't really see anything, and I saw this on top of the engine, this little sliver sticking up. I went and shut my engine off, went over there to see what that was. I picked it up and it just started slowly coming out. I had broken alternator belt. I had no way of charging my batteries. I was getting unloaded. I hurried up. I made sure, well, I'd already shut my truck off. I made sure that I didn't start my truck up. When I started it up, I called the company and I said, hey, I've got to go get an alternator belt on my truck. I'll be a few minutes. Hopefully it won't be long. Well, you can't do that. And I said, excuse me? You can't do that. You can't go get an alternator belt. You didn't call and ask for approval. And I said, listen, I've got maybe 15 minutes left of battery on my truck, and then I'm going to be on the side of the road, and I'm not going to be doing anybody any good whatsoever. I'm going to get an alternator belt. Well, if you do, you're going to suffer the consequences. And I said, okay, bye. And I hung the phone up. He tried to call back, and I didn't answer. After I got my truck out of the shop, after I got my alternator belt put on, then I called them and I said, hey, I got my alternator belt on now. Was you needing something? They're starting to unload me now. And he said, yeah, I was just calling to tell you, I called in, we got approval to get your alternator belt done. And I said, okay, thank you. I appreciate it. It's already done now. Well, who's going to pay for it? And I said, I'm an owner operator. It's my truck. I've already got it taken care of. Let's go on the next run. See, they didn't like that. They wanted to control everything. They wanted to be in control of all of it. Needless to say, I didn't work for that company very long. You have to stand up for yourself. That is a big problem that's wrong with the industry. People just roll over. They just keep rolling over. A company calls you and yells at you and demands stuff, and bosses you around and treats you like crap. Don't be like that. Don't be like that kind of person. It's only going to make you mad. It's only going to make you irritated. It's only going to bring you down. It's going to give you negative outlooks on stuff. So, stand up for yourself. People will respect you more. Now, they'll be angry at you. They will. They'll be angry at you, but they will respect you. And I don't mean to scream and yell and just lose control. But when they call you and say to do something, just say, I'm not going to do it. I worked for a company for 5 years. I really liked doing it. I really liked working for the company. I liked the people I worked with. I liked everything. For some reason, this company wanted to get under my skin. Why, I have no idea. But they told me to go get this load, and the load wasn't there. And they knew that it wasn't there. And when I got there, they supposedly switched, which the first load was never there. And they said, well, since we can't get this load for you, let's do this. And it was a crap load, didn't pay anything, went to North Carolina, stayed out over the weekend. And I said, no, I've already said that I've got stuff to do this weekend. I'm not doing that. Well, you have to. That's all we've got. My thinking is they did this on purpose because they wanted that load covered. They wanted it covered. So they thought they could just lie to me and get it covered. And I stood my ground. And I said, I'm not doing it. They didn't ask nicely. They didn't talk nicely to me. They demanded and told me I was going to do it. It might have been different if they come at me with the truth to begin with. It might have been different if they asked me nicely and said please. It all might have had a different outlook. I worked for that company for about 5 years, and they told me at that point, you know, if you don't do this, what are you going to do? And I said, I'll go home. Well, you're way down in Alabama. How are you going to get home? And I said, it's my truck. It's my fuel. I'll go home. And you know what? They didn't fire me over it. They didn't end my lease over it. I quit. Because it had built and built and built like these pros and cons. It had just built and built and built to the point where I said, look, I don't want to deal with you anymore. I don't want to listen to you talking to me like this. I'm not going to deal with it just for the job. You're not that special. And I can find something else. And you know what's weird about it? I talked to one of those drivers that worked for that company. He's an owner operator. I'm a company driver. I make almost as much money as he does. And he's got to worry about tires and belts and oil changes and all of this stuff. And I get home every weekend. He gets home every weekend. He's got his own truck. I drive a company truck. But the bottom line is there's only a couple $100 difference in the week for our paychecks. Is it worth it to be with that company putting up with all that crap just to make a couple extra $100? I don't think so. So, in closing, if you hate truck driving, there's your answer. If you don't want to be a truck driver, if you're doing it out of just absolute necessity for the money, probably nothing is going to satisfy you with truck driving. You hate it, you don't want to be in it. So just get your money and get out of it and go do something else. That's my advice to you. If you really like it but you want a good company, find out what your tolerances are. That's the best thing to do. Find out your tolerances. You know, if you can't, if you can't stay out 3 to 5 weeks at a time, tell them you can't stay out 3 to 5 weeks at a time. You know, starting out, that's going to really, really limit you on what companies you can work for. After 2 or 3 years, it's going to open up and you'll have a lot more opportunities. Um, During that 2 to 3 years, don't get disgruntled. Don't get just absolutely angry and hate truck driving. You know, find out what it is in those 2 to 3 years that you like and you don't like, the good and the bad. Start making mental notes, start writing stuff down, start calling, start talking to people, start finding out what it is that you could go do and where it is that you could work that doesn't do the things that make you mad. Okay? Don't just call a recruiter and listen to the recruiter. A recruiter's job is to recruit drivers. Of course, they're going to bread and butter it and make it look good. That's their job. Ask the drivers. Ask other people. Find out what it is that they do that you like and you don't like. You know, start thinking. is going to take some effort on your part. If all you want to do is just drive a truck and you don't care, hey, there's all kinds of places out here that's hiring truck drivers. Just throw an application out there. Whoever grabs it, say, there we go. I got me a truck. I got me a load. I'm a truck driver. If you're wanting to be more picky and more specific about it, start making arrangements to where you can do what you want to do.